And I realized that I only wanted to do something in education. We wanted to understand what are some of the basic challenges that teachers and trying to build mini apps or any technical infrastructure to help the government. AI can actually predict what exactly should be taught to the child.
अच्छा अब वो challenge नहीं है which we used to have in SBI के banking system में कि people doesn't want to work on computers.
3 दिन में फोन पे था ना सब कुछ. टीचर्स को फोन तो चलाना आते ही है. 3 दिन में पूरा स्टेट स्केल हो गया. So how do you take a whole holistic view of how to improve these things? The only problem is that they are overburdened. They don't have enough time to be able to do what they do best. Midday meal से भी बच्चों की learning outcomes में बहुत फर्क पड़ता है.
I wanted to know where Shikhar comes from. कहाँ से हो, कहाँ से रहने वाले हो, who all are there in your family?
Yeah.
Or how did you start your career into IT?
I am from Mathura. I'm sure everybody knows what Mathura is. Basic schooling Mathura में 10th तक. उसके बाद like a lot of people, I went to Kota for my preparation for IIT JEE. Kota के बाद I got admission into a engineering college. Again, like most of the people in the country want to get into engineering. It was a great experience. Engineering in Allahabad, IIIT Allahabad, I think it was an eye-opening experience in the sense that very early in my career, I realized that I have a lot of technical bent, but I love working with people and I love working on impact. उस टाइम पे उस कैपेसिटी में started sort of working with children around me, just उनको पढ़ाना, ये करना, वो करना. उससे एक चीज़ जो इम्पोर्टेंट हुई वो ये था कि मुझे थोड़ा थोड़ा पढ़ाने का अंडरस्टैंडिंग बना. एंड आई स्टार्टेड एंजॉयिंग इट अ लॉट एंड आई रियलाइज दैट आई ओनली वांटेड टू डू समथिंग इन एजुकेशन. But still after college I had to take some job. So I got placed in Cisco in Bangalore. So I moved to Bangalore. I was in Bangalore for 4 years after that. And I worked with Cisco for 2 years. Tab tak something phenomenal had already happened. There was this something called as Tata Jagriti Yatra at that time. And I went for that Tata Jagriti Yatra. It's basically a social entrepreneurship gathering and they sort of take you in a train to like 18 different locations, 18 impact locations.
Okay.
And they make you meet all these social entrepreneurs. And that really inspired me. Ki matlab, there are so many people who are doing so much good work. And I also want to sort of, be in the social space. So I started my own not-for-profit in Bangalore. Started teaching children more formally, officially, started sort of taking care of a lot of other things into consideration. I ran that not-for-profit for about 4 years. A lot of things went well. A lot of things were getting very hard to manage because, we had already reached out to 300 children and we never had one single employed person.
In South India only?
Yeah, in Bangalore.
Okay.
So I very quickly realized that, all of this can be very easily solved through tech. That's where my bent towards technology and education and probably mixing the two. EdTech was not a thing back then, not at all in India. So I considered going to US to understand EdTech more because a lot of work was being done in EdTech in India, in the US. But luckily I sort of got in touch with one of my school friends, senior actually, school senior. And he told me that, he wants to build a product for impact. His name is Shashank. He's also one of the co-founders. And I was immediately attracted to that.
So you're two co-founders or?
We're 4 of us.
4, okay.
Yeah. We all knew each other through personal connections. And we just realized that, this is the time when we want to sort of build something. And all of us were clear that we only want to work in the impact segment. There was no confusion about, trying to figure out a business model first. So we started building the first learning product in 2014.
Okay.
That's how our journey started. And it's been 10 years now.
Shikhar, you've been doing a incredible work at Convegenius. What sparkled the idea to start the company? And for our viewers, could you share what Convegenius does and how Convegenius works?
It all started with sort of me understanding, realizing that I only wanted to work in impact space, my fascination for technology and my love for teaching, learning, etc. All of this came together and we started building our first product in 2015. We went to a lot of government schools, we went to a lot of private schools, just trying to understand or just do a need analysis. मतलब basically user research करना चाहते थे, and we wanted to understand what are some of the basic challenges that teachers face, what are some of the basic challenges that students face. It was 3-4 months of a lot of research. We went to about 110 schools in different parts, and we sort of realized some basic problems that could be solved through technology. So our first product was in service of trying to solve for some of those problems. For example, one of the biggest problems that we saw was there was a lot of there was no standardization in learning process in the classroom, and we thought that if a teacher could sort of teach in a video and that could be shown to the child while we work on making sure that the pedagogy is right, then that standardized lesson plan or a lesson functioning will sort of reach millions of students. That's the thought process we started with. So it was initially just like a LMS with a lot of good content loaded, and it ran very well actually. That product still works to the day. I mean, we're still using that product.
So is it a multilingual product? Because
it is.
Okay, it's a regional.
It is a multilingual product. We have integrated about 15
languages.
15 regional languages. It focuses largely on mathematics or numeracy, as we call it for earlier grades, numeracy and language, and a little bit on science as well. That's how it started. But largely what Convegenius does is, this was one of the products that we started building in 2015. But there's something interesting that happened again in the COVID period. We tried to reach children because the governments couldn't, the teachers couldn't.
We were just locked down.
We just wanted to create something that we could reach the child directly, because up until now all our products were installed in classrooms. So we wanted to reach the child directly, so we created our first chatbot, and that went viral. It broke WhatsApp. They were like, what are you guys doing? I mean, how can you get this kind of traffic? And we very quickly realized that there's a lot of need. There's an intrinsic need for students to also be connected to their, to the whole learning process that happens in the classroom. That went on for some time. We sort of tried working with WhatsApp for a bit, but then we decided to create our own platform. And that is now called...
So initially you started it on WhatsApp?
Yeah, we started on WhatsApp. The second product, which is called Swift Chat, it's India's first bot store, specifically for education and learning. It's a discovery platform. We started on WhatsApp first, and then we built our own platform, Swift Chat. But more than learning, I think in a couple of years, we worked very closely with governments to understand what their general problems were. And I mean, we literally went to the governments and asked them, what do you want us to do? We have this, what do you want us to do? And that's where one of the co-founders, Jairaj, he found a PMF. He found a product market fit for a lot of government use cases, and we realized that the power of Swift Chat is in basically enabling the government through digital infrastructure and sort of creating M&E network across the country. Now that platform has about 150 million students registered. We're working with 24 state governments, and it has about 200 bots and mini apps. So that's the other.
Shikhar, how do you overcome this challenge of making these equipments available with these students so that they can use your product on mobile or on laptop? Because reaching out 150 plus million students is a massive success that you've got. So how do you make sure that these equipments are there in their hands?
So these are, Swift Chat, for example, is a low-touch product. It doesn't require a user to engage with the product for very long. And it works on use cases like, attendance. Pehle, the government, it used to take months for the government to sort of get any kind of data as to what is happening in the school.
Right.
Now it happens in 5 seconds. So a lot of these use cases like attendance, scholarship distribution, and assessment data, all of such use cases are sort of built on Swift Chat. In terms of scale, we do not expect everybody to have an iPhone, although that number is rapidly increasing, and probably in the next few years everybody will have a phone. But we don't expect everybody to have a phone. We do expect teachers to have a phone, and teachers usually do.
Okay.
They do have a smartphone, and we expect teachers to be able to get students that access wherever possible and how much ever possible. Which is why Swift Chat use cases are usually low touch use cases, and students who have phones at home, they're able to use it. We've also seen use cases wherein students have gone and asked their neighbors for phone just to work on Swift Chat.
Okay.
Just to do things on Swift Chat. There were several cases wherein we also saw like a mohalla sort of an enablement happening because, students wanted to use and, I've heard about stories wherein there was literally a timetable created for students. They themselves created that timetable. That Monday ko isko milega, Tuesday ko isko milega. In communities wherein phones are not so prevalent.
90s होता था ना किसी एक के घर टीवी होता था तो वो टाइम सेट होता था कौन कब जाएगा.
Yeah, and our focus has always been to make Swift Chat so simple and so user friendly and so useful. We don't push them to sort of get phones or use phones. They should be able to figure out. And I think in this day and age, I think people can figure out if they want to really do something, they can and they do figure it out.
I had this computer institute back in 2008 where we used to train 12th pass students on accountancy, computerized education and all, and we used to place them under accountants and CAs. The challenge I also faced was delivering same class of quality education what I used to deliver in Delhi. And when I went to Mathura or let's say Meerut or any other two-tier city, the challenge was to have a same kind of a educated teacher faculty in the classroom. So the videos that you have created and the quality of education can be standardized across the country through them. So you guys create those videos, you hire those teachers.
Say I will want to first break one of the myths. Maybe you've probably faced this problem because you were seeking private teachers. We've never faced issues with quality with government teachers.
Okay.
Our government teachers are highly skilled, highly motivated, and they are the best teachers that you will find anywhere.
Okay.
The only problem is that they are overburdened. They don't have enough time to be able to do what they do best. That's where Swift Chat comes in. अगर टीचर को पहले आधा घंटा लग रहा था या 15 मिनट लग रहे थे अटेंडेंस लेने में, now we are enabling them so that it just takes 5 seconds. अगर पहले टीचर को क्लासरूम में असेसमेंट करने में वक्त लग रहा था, पेपर बनाना, डेटा भेजना government को and all of that, now we're enabling the teacher to be able to do it in 10 minutes.
Okay.
We want to work with these teachers, and that is also primarily the reason why Swift Chat sort of the PMF sort of worked. Why? Because we were trying to enable teachers to reduce their administrative tasks and focus more and more on learning. And maybe in a few years, everything will be so digitized, so convenient that the teacher will actually get time to work on what their primary task is.
Research.
Which is learning, research, working with students. In fact, technology will probably in the next few years get to a level wherein teacher will also not have to do a lot to figure out कि किस बच्चे को क्या problem है,
need क्या
नहीं समझ पा रहा है, क्या उनको remediation करना है. We are working very closely with the advance in AI. We've been doing that for the last 5 years. ChatGPT तो अभी AI का हल्ला मचा है. But we've been sort of working with AI for the last 5 years to more and more accurately figure out what the child needs and what the child doesn't know. And if we're able to tell that to our teachers, a lot of their burden will be gone. Right. Generally, होता है ना, whenever there's a problem, there is this general narrative of passing the buck that happens in education system, and that comes and stops at the teachers.
So I guess there's the same problem with our medical industry also. कि medical government hospitals में doctors are not, I would say, they are good, but burden इतना ज़्यादा है.
Overburdened. Look at, I mean, every government, they work with an intention to serve with the people, right? We at Convegenius just consider ourselves as humble servants of the government. We literally go in meetings and ask them, tell us what would you like help for? And we will try and see how tech can help you enable things better, get you data more and more, make you help you make faster decisions about things and all. That's what we do.
So it's very good to hear that our government teachers in schools are very good.
They're
it's
very
only
capable.
that they are overburdened.
They're very overburdened. See, the whole education system is huge. There is no other education system in the world, that is as big as this. Now, obviously, when you design a system that big, there are obviously some things that don't work. ऐसा नहीं है कि everything is bad. The system is great. it just moves at a very slow pace because it's a huge system. We are just enabling the system, working with NCRT, working with different SCRTs. But have you seen the NCRT books now? So there are old NCRT books. They are brilliant. They are the best books that sort of can teach a child. Nobody can sort of create such books, and we can't question their capability.
Yeah, a
Those
lot
are
of research have been done.
very good.
Yeah.
So everything is good in education system. It just needs a lot of enablement, and we as the humble servants of the government, we're just trying to help them in whatever they need, and which is why SwiftChat brings in a lot of value to the government. We basically are trying to figure out use cases that are problem statements for governments, and trying to build mini apps or any technical infrastructure to help the government with that particular problem statement.
Shikhar, you have worked with various non-profit and tech ventures. How do you balance social impact with technology-driven scalability in your work at Convegenius?
Yeah, for us, scale, even when I was running the not-for-profit, right, the reason why I was not happy with 300 students was because I could see that just impacting these 300 students is not going to be enough. I wouldn't say that I was very high on numbers always, but knowing that, the problem is so big always made me very uncomfortable. So my focus always has been, and I can say that for the rest of the co-founders also, our focus always has been to build things that can scale. The thing is that simplicity in our thinking helps it scale. It's simple. Anything that we do, if it's not simple enough, it doesn't scale.
Yeah, the complex product cannot reach masses.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't. So I think simplicity is the answer to your question, that how do you build products that are deep but yet reaches scale. SwiftChat, for example, when we started building SwiftChat, the platform, the UI UX, everything was designed for it to be as simple as sort of just chatting with somebody.
Okay.
And that helped us scale because that format really works, because everybody talks on WhatsApp. So they know how to talk to somebody, right? And that's exactly what we did. And
So you must be having a very large database of what students are asking, what their queries for the particular subjects and all.
Yeah, students are asking, yes, what kind of problems students are facing, and that's how our PAL systems are also working, because we sort of keep a very close tab on what real problems are for students. So we do have a decent understanding of and that's how we know that not all is bad. We get queries, we get insane quality of queries, and we sometimes can't even believe that these are the kind of queries that students are asking. Like there was a query I remember from grade 4 from some student in Himachal, I think, who was asking about how to become an astronaut. And serious question. Not just, how do I become an astronaut? Not just that. That student had already done some research about how to become an astronaut and was asking us very detailed questions about it. I was very surprised. So this kind of gives us hope that, we just have to handhold these students, we have to work with them, we have to work with teachers, we have to work with the whole system. Just working with teachers and students is also not sufficient.
Yeah. This will change our future, I'm sure, because I still think that अभी मेरे टाइम के स्कूल पे 90s में when we used to stuck in a problem रात को 1 बजे पढ़ते हुए तो नींद नहीं आती थी, सुबह उठ के फिर टीचर के पास जाना पड़ता था. Nowadays they can find answers anytime. 24/7 they have all
On
these
Google.
chat bots and all. So learning outcome change हो रहा है. I'm sure the future change करेगा.
It is gradually changing.
In your experience, how can AI be leveraged to predict and address learning gaps before they become visible in students' performance?
AI definitely can help. I can give out more details, but it'll get very technical. The idea is that we are sort of recording students' moves. Where is the child going wrong? Where is the child not going wrong? And AI is nothing but a prediction system, right? In this particular use case, AI can actually predict what exactly should be taught to the child based on all that data that it is collecting
From the student.
So it's basically if like I was sitting with a student and sort of making them work, on something, I would know intuitively after a few classes that okay, this child needs help with this, that. So AI is basically just telling you that. It's basically like weather patterns, right? You feed it enough data, it'll tell you कि बारिश कब होने वाली है या तूफान कब आने वाला है. Similarly, here this AI system engine will tell you कि what should you teach next. It seems like it's very new, but it's not very new. AI has been there for many years, and just AI for masses or the commercialization of AI was not there. Otherwise, we've been using AI for quite some time.
Okay.
For education.
Shikhar, you have worked with millions of students. If you could change one thing in India's education system to make it truly personalized, what it would be?
Truly personalized, I don't know. Also, I don't know if that is the right approach. I would like to change if I have a lot of resources, is just a little bit of more focus, which the government has already realized. The new education policy, it focuses a lot more on application.
On practical learning.
On practical learning, right? We are actually working with different state governments to sort of make it seep, the new education policy, make it seep in different curriculums and sort of, change the way exams are held. I think बहुत बड़ा रिफॉर्म जब आ सकता है जब हम एग्जाम्स का पैटर्न, जैसे अभी यूपीएससी में हो गया, राइट? यूपीएससी में यू कांट जस्ट मग थिंग्स एनी मोर एंड जस्ट सॉर्ट ऑफ गो एंड स्प्यू इट आउट, राइट? यू हैव टू रियली अंडरस्टैंड एवरीथिंग. दे आस्क यू वेरी एप्लीकेशन बेस्ड कॉम्प्लिकेटेड क्वेश्चंस. इफ वी सॉर्ट ऑफ ट्रिकल दैट डाउन टू आवर लोअर K-12 education, students will be better off. They don't need anything else to actually be skilled. Where personalization helps a lot today is that a lot of students are moved in the government system without them being at the right learning level to be able to move. अभी grade 3 का बच्चा चलता चलता जा रहा है और आगे तक चला जा रहा है. What that happens is that it sort of creates a lot of learning gaps in the student's understanding. We're not stopping the student at any point. AI and personalization helps you figure out those gaps and fill them, which is remediation in our language. So AI can help you do a lot of that remediation. AI for personalization can also be used now more than ever to be able to build a lot of content real time for the child. For example, we were just, before this started, we were talking about psychometric tests and how psychometric tests can sort of tell you what kind of a learner you are. I am a visual learner. I know this at 35, but a student obviously doesn't know this when they are very young, right? What AI can do is basically figure out what kind of a learner profile you have. Not just like kinesthetic or visual or auditory, but there are 64 factors that sort of help you understand the student's actual learning profile. What AI can do and personalization can do is to try and figure out answers to those 64 variables and try and generate content real time that will work for you. हो रहा है अभी भी, थोड़ा दूर है बट हो जाएगा.
मासेस के पास नहीं पहुंचा है.
हाँ, अभी मासेस के पास नहीं पहुंचा है. वो उस लेवल का पर्सनलाइजेशन, इफ इट हैपेंस, देन यू कैन बी श्योर दैट एवरी video or every topic that is delivered to you will have the least cognitive load of transaction. The only cognitive load of the topic will be of the topic itself. जैसे कुछ लोगों को probability difficult लगती है, right? But probability difficult है topic, also it is not delivered properly. If it is delivered properly, then you might be able to learn it better. What AI will be able to do is understand how you will understand probability in the best way possible and then explain it to you in that. That is going to be a game changer in education.
What role do you think emotional intelligence plays in AI-driven learning solution? Can technology ever truly understand a student's emotional state to personalize education further?
Before answering this, I mean, it's a slightly contentious topic because most people who don't want to see AI as a reality sort of give this as an argument that you will never be able to understand the mental state or emotional state of somebody. But before sort of commenting on that, I'd like to point out that learning as a phenomena happens across 3 domains. Your cognitive domain, which has to do with delivery, content, and your topic, instruction, all of that, right? Then there is psychomotor domain, which is to be able to do things, to be able to learn, right? And then there is an affective domain, which sort of works on behaviors, attitude. If you're not feeling so good today, then you might not be able to achieve the same kind of learning outcomes versus on a day when you're feeling very good, right? That's obviously, we all realize that from our own lives. So what AI might be able to do is to be able to figure out some of those variables that affect you as a person.
Today's state of mind,
Today's state of mind, right now state of mind, and what you can learn right now, and be able to sort of help you maybe, tone down or tone up the kind of instructions you need. Maybe when you are in a good mood, you might be able to learn very quickly lot of instructions are not required. So AI will know कि अच्छा आज तो अच्छा mood है, let's just give
Cut
difficult
short.
things.
Yeah, cut short करो या
So AI will be able to do that. It still does actually. There are, I mean, those are not commercially available products, but AI is much more advanced as of today. As what we know.
I was going through an article where Western people now don't want to speak to anyone on the phone if they are in a suicidal tendencies. They wanted to discuss it with AI, and AI had stopped a lot of amount of people by actually consoling them.
Slightly contentious thing, but learning में AI can sort of predict the child state to some level. Emotional understanding बच्चे की हो सकती है and can sort of help the child in learning.
और ये अगर 90-95% भी पहुंच जाए तो I guess it is.
यार अगर 60% भी पहुंच जाए, that's also enough. Even at 60% accuracy, this kind of a system will actually help the learner a lot. Not everybody is ready to learn it at all times. And a teacher who has like 50 or sometimes even 100 students in a classroom cannot work according to the emotional state of everyone. So their personalization sort of plays a very important role, that you are on your own journey and you sort of take it slow when you're not ready for it. You sort of pace it up when you're ready for it.
You've spoken about blending pedagogy with technology. If you could design a new educational model from scratch, what would it look like?
I feel like there's a lot of research that has happened in 1970s, 80s, and even now, like for the last 30 years also, there's a lot of pedagogical research that has happened across the world. I feel from a pedagogy side, we've learned whatever we could, at least till now. There's a lot of learning in terms of how a student learns best. What we need to figure out, and something that we are sort of trying to do at Convegenius, is what is the best way to deliver that through technology. There are essential elements of pedagogy that cannot be done through tech also, which is why we always create holistic programs. We don't just sort of like, our claim is not that okay, we'll give you a product and your student will
360-degree
become Einstein in 2 days. We are taking a more balanced approach, in the sense that there is a role that a teacher plays that nobody else can play for a child, right? What we are trying to do is all those things that a teacher will find it difficult to do for a student just because they are working with 40, 50, 100 students. We are trying to enable the teacher to be able to do that. I don't think pedagogy wise things will look different. What we are trying to do is to create a more holistic way in which a teacher feels more enabled and informed in the classroom. They know exactly what student learning levels are, they know what to teach, they know what not to teach, they know how to prepare exams. We're trying to work with teachers in that, and tech is an enabler in that. That's how we are trying to use it. AI will even be a better enabler. AI is, it's tech, AI, whatever. AI will even be a better enabler. Why? Because AI will be able to personalize instruction for the child at that level. So yeah, in an ideal world, if I had to redesign everything, a redesigned system, probably 20 years down the line, will look like this. AI and tech will be doing a lot of things for the child. Even after that, for 50% of the other needs, the child will depend on the teacher, on the peers in the classroom, on the family, on what kind of environment they are growing up. The child will always have that kind of learning from those aspects as well.
If you could deploy one AI tool that every teacher should use in their classrooms to improve learning outcomes, what would it be?
Swift Chat.
Swift Chat would be the one product. In a very simple terms, एक नॉर्मल आदमी के लिए हाउ डू टीचर का दिन का शेड्यूल कैसे चेंज होगा स्विफ्ट चैट के साथ में, टीचर की जो नॉर्मल डे रूटीन रहता है, क्योंकि उसके पास में अभी आई गेस एक सिलेबस का वो रहता है, एक क्लासरूम में डे 1 पे क्या पढ़ाना है, डे 2 पे क्या पढ़ाना है, हाउ इट वुड चेंज?
आइडियली व्हेन वी आर डन doing a lot of changes for the teachers, the way this would work would be that if the teacher, typically a day for a teacher starts 2 hours before the classroom starts, right? They do a lot of daily planning as to what to teach in what class, because that's the only time they get, right? After that they have back-to-back classes, so they prepare those lesson plans, they prepare a lot of things as to what to teach, how to teach. Then they go into classrooms and they start taking attendance, then they start delivering a lesson, etc., etc. On a weekly basis, sometimes on a monthly basis, and at a unit test level, they also have to make papers. They have to sort of get students to work on those papers, then sort of collate all of that data, marks देने पड़ते हैं, then they have to upload all of this in some system so that the government gets to know ki, okay, how are students performing and all that. All of this will be digitized. Not just digitized, all of this will be made
Automated, I guess.
in service of the teacher. अभी attendance 5 सेकंड में हो सकता है. अभी we've launched something called as OCR, which is optical character recognition. What it is doing is, it is actually seeing the student's performance, scanning the answer sheet of the student, and telling the teacher कि कितना accuracy है बच्चे का.
Okay.
And that data will be automatically uploaded on the server, so the teacher doesn't have to spend any time there. So your assessment data वैसे आ जाएगा, attendance data वैसे आ जाएगा, and there are a lot of other things also a teacher has to do in the school.
So you can understand every student's writing?
We are reaching there. It has started sort of understanding. Abhi to we started sort of taking data in terms of binaries. It'll eventually start understanding writing and stuff also, and it'll start sort of AI can actually do that. It'll start understanding that writing and it'll tell the teacher कि okay 5 में से 2 नंबर दे हैं इस बच्चे को.
हाँ, आंसर शीट चेकिंग का टाइम बहुत.
So all of that will be so easy for the teacher that they can focus on actually enabling students in the classroom. For example, अभी अगर आप किसी भी स्कूल में जाओगे, even in private schools, there are, हम assume करते हैं कि पूरा क्लास एक लेवल पे है, but that's usually never the case, right? Usually a classroom is actually a multi-grade, multi-level classroom. So it'll have at least 5 groups operating in the classroom. If you look at a level sort of a structure, then it'll have at least somewhere around 20 to 25 different subgroups in the classroom. Now, one teacher cannot deal with 25 different instructional approaches or different things to teach in the classroom, right? AI can help the teachers there a lot. It can actually work with different these subgroups or different students to get them to a common level,
right?
And inform the teacher कि भाई इस इंसान को division नहीं पढ़ा सकते आप, इसको भी subtraction भी नहीं आता है, आप नहीं पढ़ा सकते division. So you'll be able to inform the teacher to that level. And that is how I feel like a modern school will eventually sort of look like, wherein a teacher is not spending any time on administrative tasks. They are focusing on leveraging technology to be able to understand students better and be able to teach students better.
So I mean, if you can spare more hours on productive work than to be spending time on the work which are
non-productive.
Non-productive.
Abhi tak, I'm not saying that those things are not important. Those things are very important. But tech can do that. A teacher should be able to do.
Yeah, the tech can do that, and they should know them. Teachers should know them. That thing which is not productive can be done through AI.
Yeah. Teachers are very, very respondent in that sense. Like I remember when we had sort of launched the attendance bot on Swift Chat. Within 3 days, we had scaled the entire state.
अच्छा, अब वो challenge नहीं है which we used to have in SBI के बैंकिंग सिस्टम में कि people doesn't want to work on computers.
3 दिन में फोन पे था ना सब कुछ. टीचर्स को फोन तो चलाना आते ही है. 3 दिन में पूरा स्टेट स्केल हो गया. और now that product is being used, I don't know how many states right now. That is the power of technology, and that is how we can improve the system. And I feel like probably 20 years down the line, teachers at least 90% time will just go in teaching.
Okay, Shikhar, how Convegenius is different from others player in the market? How do you see yourself as doing different things?
Convegenius is different than other players. I mean, there's obviously a lot of fundamental difference. The fact that we've also survived this whole edtech bubble burst is also testament to something that we're doing differently.
And because K-12 is a very challenging area.
It is definitely a challenging area. I mean, I don't want to take names or anything, but firstly I want to break that myth कि it is not a good time to invest in an edtech startup or work in an edtech startup. According to me, this is the best time to be in edtech. I'll tell you why. The reason for that is that every industry, when it sort of initiates itself, when there is enough demand for an industry, there is a stabilization curve. Initially, when something gets very popular, right, the industry gets very popular, there are so many players that will sort of come into the industry.
It happens in every industry.
Every industry. A lot of these players will quickly figure out a business model to make money out of it.
Yeah.
That's typically how an entrepreneur sort of thinks, right? What we did differently was that we first tried to figure out the impact model. How are we creating impact? Which is why we have consciously stayed away from doing a lot of jazzy things. We've tried to do things that are simple and are actually effective on the ground. A lot of people will disagree. We've heard a lot of things from a lot of people ki this is not right, see this company is doing this is doing that, edtech itna boom kar raha hai, why you guys not sort of getting a piece of that pie, we've had a very steady growth. Why? Because our fundamentals are clear and our goal is very clear. We are an impact first organization. We primarily focus on impact first. ऐसा नहीं है कि we don't think of business model. Obviously, at the end of the day,
You
PNL
have
is
to make money. Yeah. You have to
PNL
make
is the boss. I mean, if your PNL is not right, then you can't do impact also, right? So PNL is also important to us, but that is not the first thought that comes to our head. हमारा ऐसा कोई ambition नहीं है कि भाई हमें 2000 करोड़ और 5000 करोड़ रुपए बनानी है. Our ambition is to work on impact first. Our ambition is to naturally enable governments, work with teachers, work with students. Basically, public servants, we think of ourselves as, our government agencies are basically public servants and we are servants to them. Whatever they want, we try, जो भी उनके problem होते हैं, हम लोग वो solve करने की कोशिश करते हैं. EdTech companies, when this whole bubble started after COVID, around COVID, everybody rushed to the market without figuring out what is going to work. Most of the models have deflated because there was no outcome after that. Those things don't work. Those things have proven not effective for students, and the world is not.
I've seen in
stupid.
education concept एक साल you can sell your concept, second year you can sell your concept, but the outcome अगर नहीं होगा तो it fails.
मतलब अगर हमने सेल्स पे जितना फोकस किया, अगर हम इतना प्रोडक्ट पे किया होता या बच्चों पे किया होता, टीचर्स पे किया होता, समझने में किया होता कि इनको क्या चाहिए एक्चुअली, आई थिंक वी वुड हैव बीन बेटर ऑफ. बट also why I think is the best time is कि all that curve is now gone. Now people are investing in stable edtech organizations. People are not expecting, VCs are also not expecting कि भाई you will have this hockey stick growth in like 9 months. That is not going to happen. People now are getting a better understanding of edtech, which is why I feel that next boom that comes in edtech would be a stable boom.
Stable boom, yeah.
It'll not be like 5 months everything scaled up and then everything went down in 5 months. Now I think the growth will be slow and steady and it'll be meaningful for the entire country.
You've worked with multiple state governments. What's your one major obstacle you have encountered while trying to scale education tech in public education system? I'm sure there must be different problems you must have encountered with.
I think there have been many surprises. See, there are a lot of operational challenges, obviously. There are some very good surprises. There are some not so good surprises. Good surprises meaning that, 10 साल पहले, it used to take us some time and effort to be able to explain what we want to do. Now we don't have to.
Now we have different examples in place.
There are so many young bureaucrats who want to focus on learning outcomes and are focusing on learning outcomes. They are even younger than us. And they make us do all of that work that satisfies our soul. And, somebody is understanding what we're doing and they're enabling us to do it. That is not an issue. Even PM Modi's government also has sort of, focused so much on education, focused so much on M&E that we've been, lucky and blessed to be sort of working in this kind of environment. Challenges are usually operational resource challenges. There are some places जहाँ पे internet का problem है. There are some places, हाँ, थोड़े से है. There are some places जहाँ पे electricity का भी issue है. And we work, if we are working in a state, we would not discriminate a district basis internet or electricity, right? We will work for the entire state. कुछ जगहों पे, कुछ pockets पे है, but the governments are actually very actively working on sort of solving some of those problems. Not just for us, but for everybody's good. And I'm pretty sure, in this tenure, I think a lot of these problems will also sort of go away.
शिखर, एक बहुत अच्छी चीज हुई है इस जनरेशन में 2020 के बाद में. All our judiciary bureaucrats, doctors, IPS officers, इनकी जनरेशन चेंज हो गई है. Now you will see कि अब ये बहुत यंग जनरेशंस के हैं. जुडिशरी में बहुत यंग है अब, ब्यूरोक्रेसी में है, डॉक्टर्स में है. तो which is why they are understanding the solutions that we are taking to them. So अब ये काफी easy हो गया है क्योंकि अब ये वो रिटायरमेंट हो गया पीछे के जो 60s के थे, 70s के थे, वो रिटायर होके अब न्यू जनरेशन एंटर कर गई है इस गवर्नमेंट में.
I think in our experience at least, it has less to do with the age of the bureaucrat. It is more to do with the pace at which our economy is going. And how technical revolution is sort of changing everything. We've had some of our best experiences with some very old bureaucrats.
Okay.
They've never said no to us for anything because, they are exposed to a different world now. So we've not had those kind of problems. It's just that generally people are much more aware of tech and how tech can be used in the education system, and that is working to our advantage.
Would be your advice to the new age entrepreneurs that are into their very young age? And
Yeah, I think this country needs a lot of entrepreneurs. If there is one thing this country needs, is more and more people creating more and more jobs. I mean, one advice to anybody who's on this path of building a career or starting a career or deciding what to do is that most people who are successful will fail for the first time, second time, third time, whether it is in taking a test or it is running a company or getting a good job, whatever it is. One has to be very prepared for failure. Success will only come after you sort of, fallen
very badly
multiple times, and then you're able to still pick yourself up. What we're also trying to do is to actually inculcate some of these qualities in students. It's not just about learning mathematics. In fact, UPSC के भी जो बच्चे preparation कर रहे होते हैं, I mean, through this whole process of preparing and everything, right? What one needs to learn from is how to sort of rebound from failure.
Right.
What one needs to learn is how to work very hard. What one needs to learn is how to build grit in their personality. So we are also trying if K-12 also could have these kind of lessons inbuilt, and we're actually, interestingly, we're actually using not a lot of Western theories. We're actually picking up things from our ancient scripts. Because that is how that is the way to live our life. So we're sort of picking up things from our ancient scripts, and we're trying to see how those can be integrated in our education system, and how can those those stories, those teachings prepare students in the next generation to be able to be more disciplined, to have that grit in their personalities, to be able to pick themselves up even after the worst of failures, to be able to learn how to respect people, to be able to learn how to talk to people properly, how to be humble all the time. So we are actually trying to do that as well. I feel like there's a lot of there's basically a plethora of very rich, very useful ancient texts that we are forgetting every day, and I really want to sort of invite all our educators, everybody who's watching this video, invite everybody who thinks they can teach a child something valuable. I'm inviting everybody to take a stab at it. If you think you can deliver a lesson, चाहे वो मैथ्स का हो, चाहे साइंस का हो, चाहे वो जनरल लाइफ का लेसन हो, चाहे कुछ भी हो. Today with AI, content generation is so much easier. You can literally create a book on so many of these tools, delivering a lesson to a child in the most effective way. And if you think you know how to do it, reach out to us. Send your entries, we will go through them, and we'll make that content available for millions of users across.
Shikhar, I would participate in teaching economics ka how to calculate national income.
Please.
GDP and national income. I was very good at it.
Everything, anything, whatever you feel is going to add value. I mean, I too would want our Pandits, our Rishi Munis also, who think that there's a lot of innate value in scriptures, right? To come forward, create stories. If you don't know how to create a story, please contact us. We'll help you create stories that students can understand, and create rich animation content using AI and stuff. I would want everybody to do that, and we'll make it a free economy. It'll be the next Instagram of the world. Instagram for education. That's where the world is headed anyway. Right? So that content problem is something that again will be enabled much more better using AI. And we really believe that anything that we are doing, anything that any not-for-profit is doing, or any teacher sitting somewhere or delivering lessons to the child, if they want to contribute to not just their 30 students but 150 million students, they should reach out to us. They should send us their entries in terms of videos, animations, whatever it is.
Every school teacher, every school has एक बहुत talented teacher होता है. I'll share with you one of my school's example. We used to have our maths teacher who used to write with both of his hands.
Oh wow.
तो दोनों, I mean, कैसे right left दोनों चल रहा है और दोनों लग रहे हैं.
Yeah, वो 3 Idiots वाले जो professor थे, Virus, he also used to write with both hands. No, but honestly, like, if you think you know how to teach, and if you think you can teach a valuable lesson to students, you should try and figure out how to create a lesson out of it. And we'd be more than happy to put it out for 150 150 million students across the country. That is the power of tech and AI today.
Yeah. Finally, Shikhar, what's your plan for next 5 years in Convegenius? Very long journey that you have to cover because reaching every state in India.
Yeah.
I always say it's very difficult to achieve this in one lifetime. You need many lifetimes to achieve this. But what's your plan?
Yeah, our plan again, we are banking on a very simple plan. In the last few years, what we've been able to try and succeed at is creating this monitoring evaluation layer, right? We've sort of created these VSKs, which is Vidya Samiksha Kendra in almost about 24 states, which are essentially command and control centers of education for every state. So that stage one was actually to sort of do that, have some control so that the state officials can take more informed and quicker decisions, right? Now that we have that control and we are getting a lot of data, we want to work towards improvement. Sudhar jisko bolte. Now that we have so much of data, now that we are working with so many governments, how do we sort of aim towards achieving learning outcomes with every government? And no one model is going to fit for different states, not even for one district, right? Every district is different, it has its unique challenges. So our plan is to work on improvement of learning outcomes with the governments, keeping holistic प्रोग्राम्स इन माइंड. मतलब मिड डे मील से भी बच्चों के लर्निंग आउटकम्स पे बहुत फर्क पड़ता है, क्लासरूम इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर से भी बच्चों के आउटकम्स पे बहुत फर्क पड़ता है. सो हाउ डू यू टेक लाइक अ होल holistic view of how to improve these things? We're already working in tracking, monitoring and evaluation of these different schemes, different projects that are running in the government. Now we want to work towards improvement. And yeah, we have tech, AI, all of this to our disposal now. That is the grand plan, as simple as that. Sudhar, I mean, now we have to move from Samiksha to Sudhar, which is from tracking everything to sort of now improving everything.
So thank you, Shikhar.
Thank you so much. Lovely chatting with you.
Amazing.
Thanks.